Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. Our webinar today is Most Important Digital Strategies for 2019. Our speakers today are John Lincoln from Ignite Visibility. John is a co-founder and CEO of Ignite Visibility and a teacher at UC San Diego, a keynote speaker, the 2017 Search Engine Land Search Marketer of the Year, and one of the top digital marketing consultants in the industry. John Lincoln eats, sleeps, lives, and breathes digital marketing and brings that enthusiasm and drive to the entire Ignite Visibility team. He holds an MBA in finance from Alliant International University and a BA in literature from UC Santa Cruz. He is Google Analytics certified and AdWords certified. His business mission is to help others through online marketing. He also loves to surf and play soccer. John, why don't you say hello?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. Excited to be here today, everybody, and chat about some of the most innovative things actually that are going on in digital marketing. So thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. Happy to have you here. Our next speaker is Tessin Daya. Daya joins Uberall with more than 10 years of experience in location marketing. Before joining Uberall, Daya spent 6 years in a variety of roles, including Senior Director for Reach Local's partner channel business. And prior to that, on the corporate strategy team, where he led key ecosystem and strategic partnerships, including Facebook. Reach Local is an online marketing and advertising solution provider for small, medium, and large businesses. Prior to that, he held sales and business development roles at IAC. Tessin, why don't you say hello?
Hi, everybody. Thanks, Caroline. Great to be with you guys. Great. Lovely. So thanks, Caroline. Appreciate it. And my name's Tessin. Like I said, John, joining with Ignite. John, great to do this with you. I know you've been at this for a long time, i.e. digital marketing, as have I. And I hope you appreciate this from your side and that, here at Uberall, we continue to see a hunger with brands, marketers, businesses to try to figure out some of the innovative digital practices that we're seeing here, buzzwords, AI, voice, bots. And so, appropriate to have a topic like today with the 10 digital marketing practices for your 2019 strategy. We thought it was appropriate. And really curious to hear your insights and thoughts on that. So with that, I will kick it off to you and I will come back in a little bit. So take it away, John.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Tessin. So yeah, I think you really hit the nail on the head. Right now there's so many different things you can do in digital marketing. It makes it incredibly difficult to try to figure out where you can get the most bang for your buck. So today we're going to talk about the most innovative things and not necessarily the most actionable type of channel-driven sales items, but I'm going to try to bring it home to that and let you know really what you should be doing and shouldn't be doing. So a little bit about Ignite. So we started back in January of 2013. We teach a couple courses at UC San Diego, a two-time Inc. 5000 company, and we're about 60 employees now, and we're a Google certified premium partner. So we manage over 30 million in ad spend a year for Google now, which is a lot of money. Good for you, Google. Glad we're making you some money over there. But that's really because it actually just gets such good results. And we're going to actually get into some of the new audiences and cool things that are going on with Google right now in advertising. It's changed so much. We have been named as the #1 SEO company in the nation by Clutch.co, the #1 pay-per-click company by 10 Best PPCs, and we actually were recently named one of the #1 by Clutch for the best integrated company between SEO and SEM. So that's great. And in addition to that, we've got some other stuff like best places to work. So we've been growing the company for 6 years now and just trying to do best in class digital marketing every day. And really what we do at Ignite, and I won't spend too long on this, I want to get into the good stuff, but we create custom solutions around the client's goals. And I'm going to show you a little bit about how that model works in a moment. So what happens is we start by defining a business goal and then the personas and then create a forecast for each channel. And what's exciting about this is you've never actually been able to do forecasts by channel before in digital marketing until the last couple years. So what we can do is set a strategy, figure out the amount of traffic, the conversion rate, the conversions, and the ROI associated around each channel, and then create a budget and a timeline, report on that with dashboards, monthly and quarterly reports. And that's what I kind of want to show you guys today is what each of your channels should look like initially, and then go into all the cool new stuff that you can do to boost those channels so that they get better results for you. So this is a channel report. And what this is a report inside of Google Analytics that shows you all the different types of channels of traffic that are coming to your website. And it's really important that you understand the contribution of each channel and what are the mechanisms that drive those channels so that you can scale them. And what I'd like to show you next is actually what each channel looks like from a contribution perspective. So in a general analytics account, you want to have about 25% of revenue coming from organic search, 25% coming from email, 23% coming from paid search, social about 9%, direct about 8%, referral about 5%, affiliates 4%, and then about 1% from other. And this is really important because we've got hundreds of clients here. I see all their analytics accounts, and I can log in and just look and see, okay, this person's too invested in organic. This person's too invested in paid. This person could be growing their revenue, another 30, 40% if they put some time into email and they put some time into email automation and they were doing promotional blasts on a consistent basis, right? So this is really important to understand the different channel contributions and then the mechanisms that drive them, because in the new digital age, you want to have a diversified portfolio of traffic for any type of online business. So now let's get into some of the cool strategies. So optimizing for voice search. So now there's over 1 billion searches per month, and about 50% of these are being done by voice. So this is a whole new world, and there's a lot of different ways that you can go about doing this. It integrates with things like Alexa, it integrates with things like Home, and we're going to get into that a little bit. But one of the first actionable things that you can do is incorporate long tail keywords and questions and phrases specifically into your web page content. So thinking about what are all the questions that somebody wants to ask in your space, and then mapping those to specific answers on a page and creating an almost FAQ type of format so that people can get the answers to their questions, and these things get served in voice search. So we're seeing a lot of that, and there's some great tools out there. SEMrush now has a tool that will show you every single query that somebody does around a hub. So around one keyword, what are all the different questions that people ask? There's also another one called Answer the Public that will tell you the same type of information. Two great tools. Make sure you check them out. But really what happens is if you optimize for voice search, you'll get that featured snippet, you'll start showing up in Google Assistant, and you'll start getting more of the market share. Next is visual search. So integrating with AMP stories, integrating with stories in general is a big thing. And I'll get more into stories later. But what's happening is people are becoming more and more visual. They don't want to see 2,000 words of text, right? They want to see an image every 50 to 150 words. And Google is using their algorithms, and they're looking at images like they never have before. So now there's image recognition. There's also video recognition as far as what are the elements that are inside of these images and these videos. And Google's using this for YouTube. And some of this isn't in full effect now, but they're saying that it's going to be coming more and more throughout this year. So images are more important than others, and than ever. And I can't tell you how important it is to have that good hero image with your company brand name on there and a logo, so that if that gets shared through Pinterest, if that gets shared throughout Facebook, if that gets shared throughout Twitter, you've got good click-through rates, you've got good branding, and you want to make sure that you're using things like rich pins, Facebook Open Graph, and Twitter cards, so that all those images are displayed correctly in each one of these individual online entities. Now we're talking about incorporating AI. So there's things coming out such as the Google Home Hub, which has artificial intelligence built into it. And artificial intelligence is built into Google now. It's built into all of these different elements that are out there, such as Google Actions, Alexa Skills, and really it's a matter of just kind of understanding the best way for your business to work with artificial intelligence. So right now, there's nothing super actionable that you can do other than just create amazing content and have that amazing content be digested correctly by Google so that you can be served more and more and more. But I'm talking about things like having really compelling headlines, having good user experience, making sure that you've got good time on site, you've got good click through rates, and that's going to allow your content to be served more than your competitors. And the other thing that's helpful is to install things like heat maps and content analytics, look at your time on site, look at your top exit pages, and really understand that overall analytics landscape for you and make sure that you're always tweaking and refining those metrics. Local SEO. So local SEO is something that we do just a ton of here, and Tessin's going to talk more about this later. But local SEO is growing more than ever, and Uberall is a great company to work with in that regards. But in general, when it comes to local SEO, you want to be thinking about the maps, you want to be thinking about the HTML listing, and you want to be thinking about all of the different profiles that rank within your local SEO space and what do the reviews look like around that? Are you getting citations? So local SEO is just an amazing and a very important part of any good search engine optimization strategy. And if you focus on it, you can get some great returns. I was just doing a presentation for one of our franchisee clients yesterday. They've got 150 locations, and we were seeing that their results were up a couple 100% year over year for each of their individual locations by focusing on the right things within local SEO. So don't just let things kind of hang out there. Make sure that you have an active local SEO strategy. Email personalization. When we started launching an email marketing department a couple of years ago, I could not believe how little emphasis people put into email. Most people are not doing promotional blasts to segmented lists and personalizing it. Most people are not creating these type of automations so that if somebody signs up, they get a series of drip campaigns that eventually leads into a conversion. Most people are not taking the time to do these automated sequences in a way that really gets the type of return. They don't have abandoned cart emails that take place if somebody leaves throughout the checkout process, and they're capturing their email and then sending them a coupon that happens right after that. Or if they just put in their email initially as they're going through a checkout process, and then getting them into some type of funnel. So I would say focus on email. Email is not dead. And every single client I have seen focus on email, it has more than paid for itself. I think the issue with email, people feel that it's not super sexy, it's not super exciting. So instead, they want to put more time and emphasis on things like a Facebook story or an Instagram story when you're probably going to see a much lower return on that. And that's one thing I think I want everybody to understand is double down on the things that are working specifically in Google Analytics. Go through Google Analytics, look at your channel reports, look at your top sources and mediums that are converting with the highest conversion rate. Even if they have lower traffic, if they have a high conversion rate, think to yourself, what if you scale that double, triple, 10x it, right? If you can maintain that same conversion rate, you're going to be able to see a bigger return. So email is a great example of one of those channels that people should work on. All right, so now we're talking about stories, and stories are everywhere now. So stories are in Instagram, and there's Instagram ad stories. Stories are in Facebook, and there's Facebook ad stories. Stories are in Google now. You can do Google AMP stories. You can do stories inside of Snapchat, and you can run ads around your stories, right? And so these are getting just a huge amount of the market share. But the issue is is that they don't have really good like calls to action. They're mostly around the branding side. They're there for a second and then they're gone. But the thing is that the consumer's eye is shifting towards these. And people are spending the majority of their time on Instagram on stories. On Facebook, that's not the case, but since they're newer, people are starting to get into it. So if the consumer's there, you have to be there. So you need to have a story strategy. So that could be some type of video that perhaps you put onto YouTube, you chop up into little stories, and then you push out on Instagram, you push out on Facebook, you push out on Snapchat, if your demographics on Snapchat, and then you run some advertising around each of these. Now, it's going to be very inexpensive right now to run story-based ads and get just a huge amount of market share. It's not expensive to get a lot of people to see your brand, but you want to think about what really is the ROI on those type of stories if you're going to be doing that. Now, getting into the Google side, the Google AMP stories, those are really only meant for bigger publishers, and you're going to have a pretty hard time showing up in that right now. So it's not something where I would say really focus on that unless you are a big publisher. And then Twitter doesn't have any stories type of stuff right now, but if you take that same video, there's a great ability to chop that up into stories and then chop it up into a 1-minute piece for Instagram, 10 minutes or under for LinkedIn, 10 minutes or under for IGTV, a minute for Twitter, and so on and so forth. So thinking that video asset, pushing it out through all these different social platforms, and then doing that on a monthly basis, right? One video asset, chopping it up, pushing it out. One video asset, chopping it up, pushing it out. And then scaling that if that's working for you so that you can really get that big social presence and you're starting to push the size of your brand. Really important to grow a brand nowadays. In a recent study that I saw last week, we saw that if two things are ranking next to each other in Google, 91% of the time, whether it's higher or lower, right, and they're next to each other, the consumer is going to pick the brand in Google that they know better. So don't skimp out on, I'm the biggest guy to say go digital, but don't skimp out too much on the branding and these other things that are going to help people recognize who you are. So podcasts. So if you want to start a podcast, Anchor FM is a really easy way to do it. It'll let you syndicate to all the top sites out there. And, then your next thing is going to be, well, how do you build an audience? And that's, I think, is an issue that a lot of people have with podcasts. They start doing it. Not a lot of people pay attention. And then it, was it all for nothing? So if you're going to do a podcast, really make sure you have the time to dedicate there. But podcasts are one of the fastest growing mediums right now. And if you're going to do it, make sure you have the time to promote it. Make sure you have the time to set up interviews, or if it's going to be a solo podcast, that can be much easier. But it's something that is going to take some time. So we started a podcast, just taking some of the stuff that I do and put it up on Stitcher and iTunes and stuff like that. And it's been fun to see it grow. Now we're up to a couple thousand downloads a month, which is great to see. But are you really going to get the return there for your business? Is that really the best place to be spending your time? And I would say in many cases it's not, unless maybe you're in the B2B space and you're interviewing people who you want to get in front of so that you could create more channel partners and channel sales and things like that. That's a great reason to do any type of media, any type of content marketing, is so you can interact with others. Live video is a great thing to get involved in. You will be pushed to the top of Instagram. You'll be pushed to the top of all of these major sites, right? YouTube and Facebook. And you can do live video on pretty much any platform now that are the big 5, the big 6 social media sites. But don't just go live without anything to do, right? Make sure you're going live around an event. Make sure you planned out what you're going to say if you're going to go live. And, make sure you've got a big enough audience so that if you go live, there's not just going to be one person watching you and then you're going to feel sad about it, right? But integrating live and doing, Q&As and behind the scenes videos and hosting events and going live when you have those events is a great thing to do. So I highly recommend you integrate this and think about anytime you're doing something exciting, go live and have a strategy for how you're going to be broadcasting that as well. So AR and VR. So this is really crazy. So I had a gentleman come into my office from Brazil who has a chatbot company, and basically that chatbot integrates with Facebook Messenger. And inside of it, you can basically have a chat with a company, and say it's a makeup company. Then what you can do is you can ask to see their products right inside the chatbot. It'll show you some products. Then you can say, you can upload a picture right within the chatbot, and you can say, show me what this would look like on me. How exciting is that? With augmented reality, you can try things on now with the e-commerce space. And that's going to be a major, major game changer. They're looking to integrate that with not only a Facebook Messenger chatbot, but chatbots on your website, and then also chatbots that work actually inside of advertisements. So there's a new thing called AdLingo that's coming out. And what AdLingo is a product by Google that allows you to have a chatbot that's served through display ads inside of the display network. So if you're on a website, you'll be able to click an ad, interact with the chatbot, and then you're going to be able to say, okay, I want to see these shoes, right? And it will show you a bunch of different shoes. And then it can have some augmented reality elements around that. So such as trying it on and things like that, right? A better example might be a t-shirt or something like that you could actually put on a photo. But this is how it's changing, guys. It's these virtual experiences that are just really, really cool. So so that's another thing to keep an eye out for, but something that's expensive, something that's kind of a little bit far in the future still. And the last thing that I have today is expand reach with similar and lookalike audiences. So this is the new stuff with Google, right? So a similar audience is basically you can find all the people who went to your website and create an audience that's similar of that. And you can layer it with things like location. You can layer it with things like income. You can layer it with things like, are they an in-market audience? So have they done 5 searches around your product category, and have they been to a different websites? Based off of that, you can qualify them as an in-market audience. And Facebook has the same type of stuff. So I won't go too deep into this one right now because I could talk about this for a long time, but these are really cool things and new audiences that you definitely have to try this year. So Tessin, would you like to jump into some of the cool stuff around local?
Yeah, absolutely. So, John, that was fantastic. I mean, I love the dichotomy of what you went through there. You talked about email, which to me is the most dinosauric sort of element of digital marketing tactics, and the fact that it doesn't get a lot of love.
Yeah.
I love that you emphasize that. And then AR, VR, I love that we're learning from South America. So always nice to discover new things. So, as you were talking, I was just thinking about the world I live in every day, which is the world of local, and how it feeds into a multi-pronged strategy. I know you mentioned local SEO a little bit, but I wanted to just start with this, and this was sort of interesting. Last Friday, I was up at Microsoft in Seattle, and they were presenting, and they said by 2021, early adopter brands that rethink and redesign their web presence to support voice search will increase digital commerce revenue by 30%. So, I mean, kind of in line with what you were talking about earlier. And but again, stuff to move the needle, right? So really interesting to hear. And to put context to it, how it really affects local in the way that I think about it, it's sort of this culmination over the last very many years of consumer behavior. Because and I think the way that we think about it is the local business buying cycle. And there's a few components there, right? So just quickly to get into it, this is a recap. People kind of know this intuitively, but I think it's important to mention in that a lot of the searches now are mobile, more than half. Actually, this year, I think we've had a dramatic increase. That just means that people are, when they're looking locally, and mobile as an extension of that, and voice as an extension of mobile for right now anyway, they are lower down the funnel. There's serious intent there. And it kind of complements what we know in that nearly 90% of folks are doing multi-device research and, pertaining to local services, local products. So this is really important stuff to remember when it comes to figuring out a local strategy for yourself. Not only that, reputation is important. You were talking about branding earlier. So people want to do, especially locally, they want to do business with brands that they care about and that make an impact. The upside obviously is that, when someone chooses you locally, they are going to be less price sensitive. So you're going to have higher profit margins. There's community, trust, support as part of a local consumer transactional experience. And post that, the cycle sort of revolves around over again, because 25% of the folks that end up patronizing you are going to write a review about you. So that's kind of nice, good to kind of understand. And there's another additional component, which is there has been, Caroline, if you go to the next slide, there's been a massive increase in near me searches over the last 6-7 years as well, to the tune of about 58 times since 2011. So basically since the last recession, just about the time everybody got an iPhone in their hands. And that basically means, you're talking about GPS, IP, stated physical location. This is critical stuff, guys, on you understanding that there is an opportunity with local commerce, and how you want to think about, participating in that. Proximity is, again, critical. It's one of the most important elements of the Google local tree tax. And it's kind of funny. There's a personal story with proximity. You want to get proximity right just for not only the future with autonomous vehicles, showing up exactly where they need to show up if you're going to have self-driving vehicles out there. But a simple example, my residence, Apple Maps and Waze do not have my GPS coordinates right. So whenever I've got to order an Uber or a Lyft, there's an extra touch point. When it's in an environment or somebody doing business with you, it's just not going to work. So you basically want to just make sure that location proximity and proximity in general is really, really important. Voice search is another element that local SEO is going to feed into eventually, and it's already, we're seeing the beginnings of that occur already. 46% of voice searchers look for a local business on a daily basis. 58% of consumers have used voice search to find a local business in the last 12 months. These are really interesting stats. So as you were saying earlier, John, you got to be aware of IAs or intelligent agents. They're going to be powerful as time progresses. Cortana is actually making strides. Alexa in the lead, obviously, and so things to be aware of. So let's get to what you were referencing earlier in strong local SEO. What does that really mean? What should you as a business, as a brand, as a marketer be doing about it? We like to call it location marketing. It's really one of the most foundational pieces of digital marketing within your overall tech stack or strategy. And there is tangible revenue from, that you can make from doing it right. And so the first thing really is make sure your information is correct, just not on Google, but across everywhere. Local directories, data aggregators, search, mobile, nav services. The more digital touch points you can garner, the better off you're going to be. As a sort of an adjacent piece to that, and this is sort of a feature set that Uberall offers within their suite of services. But I think it's really, really important because we are moving from, as an extension of local SEO to customer engagement. And almost conversational marketing is the way that I like to think about it. And it's basically, if you can manage fresh content, stay engaged with customers with review response, you're just going to have a better overall outcome. It affects brand, like you were talking about earlier, John. I mean, just in the last 12 months, Google and Yelp have kind of cracked down on review solicitation. So there are, pieces to learn from that as well. You want to make sure velocity is important on reviews, that you don't stack up a bunch of reviews or solicit a bunch of reviews in a very short time frame. Make sure you space it out. So these are all pieces that are part of a local strategy. And again, very critical as part of an overall digital marketing strategy. A couple of pieces just on us and what we do. Here are some of the products we offer. We are a cloud service to manage location marketing, like I said earlier. And we've got some additional pieces to our software suite. And as a profile, we are a global company. So we have about 1,800 customers and resellers. We've got 800,000 locations that we manage within our technological solution. It's a lot. And we are truly global in nature. So, good to just showcase some of the things that we do and some of the things that we're discovering within our R&D as well. And so that's what I've got on location marketing. We're going to go into Q&A now. And I've got a few things that are coming in. So let me call out a couple of questions. And the first one is for you, John. So a listener is saying, if I'm new to pay-per-click, how should I get started? Should I do Facebook, Google, Bing, YouTube, or all of them?
Yeah, so good question and really good information there. Thanks so much for going through that and elaborating on that. If you're getting started with pay per click, I think a lot of it depends on what size of a company you are. If you're a $1 billion company or a $10 million company and you're getting a pay per click for the first time, you'll probably want to take a larger stab at it than a smaller company. If you're a little startup, I would start with Google AdWords and Bing and just some exact match keywords that are really around your business. So just running ads right on exact match terms with really good, ads and proving the business model and then scaling it. If you are a larger company in the tens or hundreds of millions, you're probably going to want to have a larger budget. You're going to want to go after a larger set of keywords. You're going to want to come in and use a similar strategy to what I said, but as a larger scale because it's going to have a bigger impact on your business. Usually, I recommend people start with Google. Then they take that same strategy, they replicate it into Bing. Then after that, they start getting into remarketing. So people who went to your website and people who are leaving, and so that you can cookie them and reinforce that visit. And then next, taking your conversions and taking those conversions and turning them into similar audiences and lookalike audiences within Facebook and inside of Google. But just to start, it's good just to start with a nice simple Google AdWords campaign. That's really where people are still getting the best return.
Fantastic. Yeah, and I would just add to that. I mean, I think you hit on this earlier as well, and just with my experience with digital marketing, I mean, having goals in mind is so critical. And the fact that you've got a channel strategy there where you were looking at all of the pieces within Google Analytics, I mean, it's so key. And so I am just appreciative that that's the level of detail that you're going through in regards to servicing your clients. And the thing that I will say, just being on the Facebook side for a long time, Facebook is kind of interesting too. It's got there's some interesting campaigns that I've seen turn out that Facebook does really well with lookalikes within specific verticals. I've seen events do really, really well over time. And so, again, if you've got goals in mind where you want to understand what's good down funnel, where's your branding and where's your awareness tactics, and if all of that is sort of cohesive, I think you'll do really well. But yeah, I really appreciate that answer, John. One other piece that I wanted to just touch on with, which is another question here, and that is, what type of information should I have online in order to engage potential customers? And so all I would say about that is you just want to make sure you've got basic information there, like your business name, address, phone number. Since we're approaching the holidays, you want hours to be represented there, services offered, logos, photos, specialties. It's basically just about publishing and calling out whatever differentiates you from the competition. And it's an opportunity for you to just maintain your brand. So it's a multi-channel environment, and those pieces would take you a long way. So I think we are unfortunately out of time. We've got some additional questions. We'll actually provide you feedback and provide you answers to those with an email in the near future here. But John, I want to thank you. Great to do this with you. Thank you for listeners for listening to this webinar. And we'll have some bonus items that we'll share with you as well. And I think that would end the webinar. So thanks everybody for listening. Bye now.
Awesome. Thanks everybody. Bye.